First up is Ann Beitlers, and the title of her talk is The Messy but Necessary Work of Identity Caucusing in Learning to Teach, and she will be supported by her team of Tina Gord, Boris Krzyzewski, Marina Newton, and Sue Stahl.
Thank you, Mia. We're going to talk a little bit tonight about the caucusing work that we're doing in the secondary teacher education program at the University of Washington. This is a team that is part of the curriculum planning and facilitating, and it really has been a team effort. A few years ago, we realized in our program that if we wanted our candidates to be prepared to teach their students and their students' myriad identities, that we needed to help them understand who they were a little bit more. So we institutionalized caucusing as an approach. In front of you, we have placards that represent some of our student voices. You may be asking, though, before we get into what our students were saying about caucusing, what is caucusing? And basically, it's not political caucusing. That's not what we're doing. I know that's in the news a lot right now. But it's caucusing around identity. And our first identity we caucus around when our students first begin in March is race. And so you may imagine people sitting around talking about race in a racially diverse group, as often happens. But what happens when people talk about race in a racially diverse group is that people of color end up teaching white people a lot. And then not only does that really weigh on them, but they don't get to do the work that they may want to do around their own racial identity. And so when we caucus around race, we get people into like identity spaces. And so what that means is I, as a white person, will caucus with other white people, and I'll talk about what it means to be white supremacy culture, white fragility, and how that all plays out in the classroom. And then our candidates of color gather together to talk about what it will be like for them to be potentially one of the only teachers of color in their building, or maybe one of 2 or 3. And then they also build strength and solidarity in that space so that they have people to depend on in the future. So right now, my team is going to step up and share some of the words of our candidates through their caucusing reflections to help you understand what we've learned through our research around caucusing. We learned, first of all, that our candidates, our marginalized candidates, started to see their identity as a place of strength as opposed to shame.
I cannot live denying my race. It's true that there are moments when I want to have a better background, to speak fluently the language that most people consider prestigious, like French or European languages, instead of Vietnamese, a language that if you're not Vietnamese, you're less likely to have a desire or purpose to learn. However, being in this program, watching people embrace their culture, I've started reflecting on my own, too. I've realized that what I have is unique. It's part of me.
We learned through our caucusing research that our candidates learn to confront their whiteness and their complicity in white supremacy.
As I was going through the various traits that were associated with white supremacy, such as a sense of urgency, individualism, and perfectionism, I remember thinking that these aren't white characteristics, these are just American characteristics. And that's when the article slapped me in the face. White culture is American culture.
Our candidates learned through tension and from tension within caucusing.
When I first came out, I used to try to sort of butch myself up to make myself read as queer. Sorry, can you know, people are craning in the back seat. I soon learned that masculinity is not comfortable on me. I feel most authentically myself in dresses and skirts and sparkly nail polish. My body, the body that I was born with, fits comfortably in the gender box society has constructed for it. This is simultaneously convenient and frustrating. The other day, Bailey, another member of the Queer Caucus, sent me an image that was a wonderful affirmation of femme queerness. And this is where I'm at with my own identity. My femme identity does not negate my queer identity. In fact, my femme identity is my queer identity. I mean, if I wasn't queer, how could I even be femme?
Caucusing provided an opportunity for our candidates to learn both about their internalized dominance and internalized oppression.
I have been able to open up more about my identity and how my intersectionality is always at play in everything that I do. Because we started off with race caucusing, I was able to cling to that group more and always gravitate towards them in other caucusing groups. The only time I felt uncomfortable to talk freely in was the sexuality caucus. This is because for the first time, I was in the seat of the privileged, and that for me was a weird intersectionality to think about.
Caucusing allowed our candidates an opportunity to think about how they'll take action in the classroom.
The work we have done in caucusing this quarter has directly affected some of my actions in my fall placement. Our discussion on binaryism and deconstructing the gender binary in particular have influenced my interactions with my students. My placement school does not have much visible support for LGBTQ+ students, and most of my students use words like gay and lesbian as ways to insult and attack each other. I have been trying my best to address that kind of language use, while also explicitly teaching some students about the gender spectrum. I also honor my students' pronouns and do my best to remind my mentor teacher when they make mistakes, even though such correction of someone I view as a superior is uncomfortable for me. I would not have taken such an active role in advocating for gender recognition if it had not been for these caucusing sessions.
Ultimately, our goal in our program is to graduate new teachers who are ready to fight against systemic oppression, and we found that in our caucusing work, they are prepared to do that and are learning how to take more action in that regard. We also found that caucusing provided them an opportunity to think through their internalized oppression and their internalized dominance. The work is complicated, and we don't feel as if we're perfect in our caucusing efforts yet. Learning about power, privilege, and positionality and how those all play out in the classroom are actually very complex, and it's a lifelong journey. As the words of our candidate Phoenix say, we don't have the opportunity to be there yet or not, and really none of us have truly arrived yet. And while we don't feel like we fully truly arrived in our caucusing curriculum, we do find that it has helped us think about the journey of our candidates and what they need to learn and support them in doing that. Thank you.